Welcome back to another episode of Fresh Out of College, your weekly dose of sports and pop culture. My name is Drew Campbell, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Rio Nishino.
Today, we are joined by another special athlete. This player was born and raised in Seattle and is a top prospect in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization.
Let's hop into it.
Today, we are joined by another special guest, Corbin Carroll. A little background on him. He was born in Seattle, graduated from Lakeside High School, for those of you that are in the Seattle area. After graduating in 2019, he was selected by the Arizona Diamondbacks 16th overall, which is, in the first round. And he is currently the 4th ranked prospect in the D-backs organization last time I checked, and the 85th ranked prospect in the top 100 MLB. So thank you so much for joining us, Corbin.
Absolutely.
So Corbin, it's been quite a year for you, to say the least. I mean, what has been rushing through your mind this last year?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it has been, a crazy year, but at the same time, I had some, inkling that this might happen, and I've got a great support system that I felt like really prepared me and helped me on my journey, and so I feel like I was set up for success even before I kind of stepped foot into this new window, this new journey, and so that was just amazing to have, first of all. And just being able to have that confidence in myself to just go ahead and see what happens out there and have that freedom, that was something really special.
Yeah, you had a great career at Lakeside. I kind of want to know, at what point during your high school career did you know, or did you think, you know what, I could go pro in this. I could be a reckoning to, and be a first round pick. What year did you figure that out and say, I need to go hit all these camps, Team USA, perfect game, and kind of all that?
Yeah, I think for me it was kind of just a natural progression of saying, what's the next step, and just not really focusing on the long-term picture, but just getting a little bit better each day and seeing what opportunities came. And so freshman year, that was trying to get recruited and play at a major D1 school. That was the goal then, and then from then it was just, all right, when I get on campus, as a freshman, I want to be an immediate impact player and have a lot of success there. And then professionally, I'd say that was probably, into going into the summer before my senior year. I started attending some of these more national showcases and like national events. Before that, everything had been pretty local, and there's plenty of great competition in Washington and in the West Coast area. And so, but yeah, it was that junior summer, just started expanding a little bit, and went and played some ball over in Florida, and over on the East Coast, and just kind of all over. And I think following that summer and having a successful summer, I think that was kind of when I realized, like, this is something that I could forgo. Going to UCLA was my college commitment, and obviously it was going to take me a lot to kind of withdraw from that commitment. I love UCLA. I loved the coaches. I loved everything about it. And so I knew that if I wanted to go play pro ball, it was going to have to be something that I was 110% about. And so, yeah, I mean, just going into that senior year really had a lot of fire behind me, and a lot of motivation, and just, at the end of the day, it was like, I could look myself in the mirror and say, I'm ready. And so ended up happening, and, couldn't be happier with the way things went.
Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. So Drew, I don't know if you know, but so Corbin played soccer with my brother when they were younger. So I've kind of seen Corbin progress as an athlete since, I don't know, maybe you were 11 or 12. So And then, Corbin comes in as a freshman at Lakeside. I'm a senior at Roosevelt. And we're all like, oh, who's this new kid at Lakeside that's, getting all this noise from all the scouts and coaches. And then, you see him a couple of years later and, he's a first round draft pick. It's crazy to think of just the progression you've made, and also just thinking, okay, he's just such a hometown kid. Like you wouldn't expect it, but he did it. Like he worked every day, which is pretty cool. And obviously as a Seattleite and someone who played in, Metro, baseball league, is like super cool to be able to cheer on Corbin. And it's like, obviously this is a huge accomplishment. And like, first off, the commitment to UCLA is a big deal, but then he takes a step even further. So pretty cool to kind of just see it from the outside perspective too, but also being able to hear it from you personally is really cool too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. I think it is important, to kind of take a second every once in a while and look back and kind of put things in that perspective. But I'd say most of the time for me, it's like, I'm not where I want to be, right? It's like more the perspective of just focusing on the future and focusing on the present, and using the future to kind of motivate the present and say, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, and just to keep that work ethic and keep going.
Yeah, like you said, one step at a time, one day at a time. And I like what you said, use the future as motivation. That's great. Going a little bit more back to your high school days and also leading up to the draft, do you think the MLB and kind of the states, Washington State in general, does a good job of bringing like platforms for high schoolers to showcase their talents? Was that an easy thing to find, or was it more of your own, like you have to go out and find that national stage? And do you think it's easier? And do you think the MLB is doing a good job of showcasing high schoolers?
Yeah, so I feel like I can only speak to like one fairly extreme end of that spectrum, but
Fair.
but for me, I think just kind of with what I've seen, and um, I think I've seen people take a lot of different paths, and kind of the saying around baseball is, it doesn't matter where the talent is, like they're gonna find you. Um, and I think that's something particularly with Northwest area scouts that they do a really good job at. Is they got to cover the whole state, and Oregon too, and all the way to Idaho, and sometimes even further than that. And I think they do a great job, and especially with the Northwest scouts, it's like they've got to take the weather into consideration. And if you've got a national cross checker coming in to check out a kid, it's a little tougher when it's contingent on the weather. They're like, it's a little easier to just say like, I'm going to go to, Texas, where it's the guaranteed game, and
Mhm.
I'm guaranteeing to not waste a game a day. And so, I think, like I said, the Northwest Scouts do a great job, and I think that, just I hope that like no matter who you are and like what your situation is and where you're playing, um, from the biggest school to the smallest of schools, I think I'm hopeful that it's an equal opportunity.
Mhm. No, I
Very
think
well
Drew, you
said.
bring up a really good question, because I think this was a controversy with Mike Trout not a couple, like, quite a while back, right? Because he was from New Jersey or New
Yeah,
York or at the East Coast. So the weather's bad, and people are saying, oh, he doesn't get to play, baseball year round. So how's his, maturity? How's his development? And I think there is a little bit of a discrepancy again, because if we're from the Northwest, like there is that kind of stereotype. Well, we can't play baseball all year round compared to, player in Florida. And if you look at, the perfect game rosters, or like even the roster that you're on, Corbin, I only noticed like, I think two other people from Washington on that list. And I think so it does kind of have a impact. But again, like if you're as good as you are, like you will get found. And like Corbin's like the perfect example of that. But I think hopefully we'll see more and more of that, because I think the MLB is trying to do a better job of, getting platforms out there. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that I think that they're, obviously MLB is not the most progressive leagues in a lot of ways, but
mhm.
I think that scouting is, an area where you're starting to see a little bit more of that progress being made. Just, kind of between my year and, the last, I think, so that would be 2019. And then, so 2020 would be that summer. Yeah. So that, trying to think. No, I would have been summer of 2018 because I was going into my junior year. They changed the whole structure of that USA baseball to make it a little bit more accessible. And so I think the way that it's formatted now is, it's free to attend. There's a lot more focus on the developmental part, and they bring in some pretty cool coaches for that. And I think it's like pretty much all inclusive, paid for in IMG Academy in Florida. Nice. So I think that's a good, sign right there. But there's definitely a lot more work to be done.
Definitely. That leads us into the next question. So we want to talk about draft day and what, was going through your mind, who was there to support you, like just that whole atmosphere. Because Drew and I have never lived a draft day before. So.
Yeah. So draft day, I think it was either a Monday or a Tuesday. And I was still at Lakeside, like still at school. So I went to school that day, just kind of wanted to not focus on it and just have a normal day as much as possible. And then had some people come over to the house and probably started at about 4:00. A lot of family, a lot of friends there. A lot of coaches there, just people, everyone who supported me along the way. And, to be able to share that moment with those people was, something I'm never going to forget because, I was offered the opportunity to go to MLB Studio and do the draft there. Mm-hmm. But, that was, never something that like I could do. Like I felt like it wasn't like a day just about me. There was just so many people who'd been instrumental and who I wouldn't, have that situation or that day without. And so it was only fair to share it with them. And so, I mean, that, like you said, I was a 16th pick. I think it was probably an hour and a half until I heard my name, but that hour and a half felt like literally like days. Like just, you've got everyone there. There's that little bit of tension, I guess, in the air, it's, and just, finally hearing your name get called was.
Did you have a feeling that you're going to get picked, or did you know Arizona was targeting you, or was it more of just like the 15th pick, 16th pick? Oh, I'm hearing my name called.
Yeah. So I've got a great agent. Joe Urban is his name. And, he's a professional at what he does, right? Like he's been in the business for over 20 years. And so having him kind of to quiet those uncertainties and was huge. And so going into the day, I knew kind of which teams I had my shots with, and I knew what my floor was. And so kind of once things fell the way they fell, I got a call maybe like 4 picks before, and he was like, Joe's like, hey, you're going to the Diamondbacks. Congrats. And so that's when I knew, and walked back over to kind of everyone and just kind of was in disbelief until finally heard the name called, and, just smiled and put my head down, and there was a few tears, but it didn't fully break down, which is good, but it was really special.
Well, a huge congratulations to you, a surreal moment. I can only imagine that playing NBA 2K, but to you, that feat is amazing. Do you remember your first at bat? I kind of want to dissect that. And if you don't, I'll go on to a different question. But if you do, I kind of want to know what you were going through in that first at bat with the Diamondbacks organization.
Yeah, so when I got drafted, I went to Arizona, and my first assignment was to the rookie league. And so I think they made me sit for like 4 or 5 games and just, watch. And I was just itching to get out there. But finally got into my first game. I remember it was at our complex. I'm not too sure who we were playing, but the first at bat came out, and it was great because I got my first hit out of the way in that first at bat. So that was huge. You got to get that first one. And I remember it was just like, it was a hard hit ball, but it was a ground ball. I think right past the second baseman to his right in that first base, second base hole. And so that was awesome. Just kind of took away all the nerves. First one out of the way, and it was just, all right, let's go from here. And I probably got that ball sitting right here. Let's see. Yep. It was on June 22nd of 2019.
Seems so long ago, but it's really not that long ago.
Yeah, they saved the ball for me.
Oh
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Nice. There we go.
So it's funny. We interviewed Ryan Rowland-Smith a couple of weeks ago, and he told us about the story where he didn't grab the ball from the first at bat. Or how do I phrase this? He basically just didn't grab, the balls after he got the out, and that strikeout ended up being against Ken Griffey Jr. So you're already one step ahead of him grabbing that ball. So make sure to keep those balls. We teased Ryan about that, but that's awesome. And hopefully, I mean, your first MLB hit, like that's not too far away also, right? So really, really cool.
We also know that so I've been stalking you, your stats wise, everything on MLB. And I know that you have a 70 rated speed out of an 80 scale. Were you able to keep that base that you stole, your first stolen base? Were you able to keep that base, or did they not let you take that?
They didn't let me take that. But yeah, speed is definitely one of my better tools. And it's funny, I go back to soccer with Kaya. I think that soccer players just kind of have that extra like top gear speed that I kind of took with me. So that's my little soccer advantage right there.
Secret weapon. That's awesome. Let's talk about, so how would you, after you played, 1 year in the minors, how would you evaluate your first year? What were some of the high points, and what do you think you need to still work on to improve your game?
Yeah, for sure. So the first year was okay. Stats wise, everything turned out pretty good. I think that year was a learning experience mostly. Starting off the summer in 110-degree heat, getting used to that, and long days through that heat, and then playing the game after. I think that was truly just like the understanding that like this is an everyday thing. Like there's no break. I mean, like no one's gonna feel sorry for you. It's go. And so I think that took my body a little bit of getting used to, for sure. I really valued that. And then after rookie ball, about halfway, I think I played half my games in rookie ball, half in short season ball in Hillsboro, Oregon. And I think just being able to get in front of fans, finding a few things in my swing, that Hillsboro experience was, there were I felt a lot better about my success there than in rookie ball. And, we ended up actually capping off that season with the championship. I'll grab the championship ring too, just so we can, got all the props right here.
There we go.
Hillsboro Hops ring.
Nice.
That's
wow.
Cool.
Getting to cap off that first year with that championship and kind of just have that experience, compared to, sometimes minor league baseball can be a little bit more, all right, let's just get through the day and get out of here. But, really, grinding with those guys and wanting something as a group and, competing as a team. That was huge, and that was really special. And an interesting thing actually about that, where we won the game that won us the whole thing was, it was in Pasco, in Tri-Cities, Tri-City Dust Devils was who we were playing, and it was Gesa Stadium. And so that was actually the stadium that I played the state championship in my freshman year.
That's right. Yeah.
So just, it was kind of, full circle moment there.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's awesome. So you talk about the heat. You also talk about, the endless amount of continuing baseball, nobody feeling sorry about you. If somebody were to come out today and be drafted from high school, what would you give them as advice from the transition from high school ball to short A ball or professional ball in general?
Yeah, I think the first thing would just be, stay humble. Like, you just got drafted. Some people might feel, like they're all this and that, but just remember that, you're not where you want to be. The minor leagues aren't exactly most glamorous, right? And everyone's shooting for those, full course meals on the flights for the major leagues, So just remember that piece of it. And the other thing is just constantly be learning. I mean, from your teammates, from your coaches, about yourself. Just learn what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and stay true to yourself, because you can't let someone change you in a way that, like, kind of your confidence is going to go out the window. That's what's gotten you to that position, and has helped you have success, and so that's kind of what I'd say.
Nice. That's good. I mean, those are all key things there. And then you were also for the Arizona Diamondbacks alternate site, right? You were there?
Yeah.
Okay. So what was that? Where were you when you got the news? Because I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but before that, the minor league season was canceled. So you had before you knew you were going to the alternate site, correct?
The story of that was we'd been in Arizona since January. The Diamondbacks decided that they wanted us to have a pretty long run up into the season. So we were there January, February, and then we were just getting in halfway through March when we got the news during spring training that the season had been postponed, for the best, obviously. And so just went home after that. Was home from mid-March until end of June. And then right at the end of June, I think, we got the heads up that, hey, like, you need to be in Arizona in 2 days. And so wasn't the longest, wasn't the most, I don't know. It was all super fast. And, I was back in Arizona in a blur. And yeah, that alternate site got started up pretty quick. First, it was kind of like the summer camp. So that was pretty neat. We got to be around the big leaguers for a decent portion of their games, and just to watch the way they operated. That was awesome. And then once they headed off to play their season, we got into the actual, like, alternate site, and started playing games, practicing every day. And I think we probably had 5 off days the whole summer. So we were there July through September, end of September. And yeah, you're surrounded by some of the best coaches and in the best facility, in baseball at Salt River for their spring training complexes. And just having those tools and those people at your disposal, like, I felt like I learned so much from that experience, and had a really successful summer there. And so I was definitely super pleased with the way that alternate site went. And I think that, I think that people are going to see a different kind of Corbin Carroll going into next year as opposed to kind of what they saw in that first year.
A couple questions. So, you're surrounded by all these big leaguers, these big league coaches, and then, a couple, double A, triple A, a couple people above you. What was that experience? Obviously you said it's good, but like, were any of them really friendly? Were any of them giving you tips? Because obviously like you're a prospect, but they know who you are, right? Because you're, in top 30, top 100, of prospects. So what was that like?
So I think the second youngest person in that alternate site. It was more double A and triple A guys, guys that were trying to go compete to get over in that major league, the major league squad at some point, and many of them did. So that was really neat to be able to compete with them. And yeah, like you said, I mean, in terms of how friendly kind of everyone was and all that, I think that's definitely one of the best things about the Diamondbacks, especially in that kind of um, that bubble, just like being able to meet so many new people and just like understand the Diamondbacks culture. Um, it truly made me understand that like the Diamondbacks value the people, for sure, and the character aspect of it. And I think that starts up top with Mike Hayes and our GM, and Tori Lavolu, our um, major league head coach. I think that major league manager. Um, I think that they really set the tone and kind of who they want to bring in, and what they want to emphasize with their guys. And I think that I got to experience like kind of that trickle down effect of, even to me, the young guy at the prospect, the alternate site, just everyone treated me super well. And I did my best to reciprocate. And yeah, I think that speaks a lot about kind of the Diamondbacks and where we're going, having that culture. And then in terms of like, development and like kind of tips that people had, there was John Jay, someone who comes to mind, 10 plus years in the major leagues, kind of all over, really just the best. I mean, everyone knows just the best clubhouse guys. That's kind of how he's known around baseball. And just like him taking the time to talk to us about like certain outfield things and like how we'd read certain situations and all that. That was huge. And then another guy who comes to mind would be Trace Thompson. He was with us at the alternate site the entire time. There weren't too many outfielders there, but he was the oldest of us and kind of took charge. We called him Uncle Trace because he had to keep us in order. But he was another guy that we learned a ton from.
Nice. All right. Well, so what are I mean, obviously your goals are to go up and get the ladder. So go from double A, triple A, and then to get the majors. But right now, what are you doing to, kind of stay active and stay in shape during, the lead up to spring training? And even if we don't have spring training, what are your kind of goals going into the season?
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now, that after alternate site, we had instructional league for 6 weeks, and then it took me 2 days to drive back home, and then ever since those 2 days, it's been go go go. So I've been hitting 6 days a week. I've been lifting 5 to 6 days a week. I've been running and doing stairs, a lot of sprint work, like sprints. My speed is something that like I really want to make an emphasis of this off season. And nothing in terms of the throwing yet. I think just kind of with the uncertainty of when we're actually going to get out there, and with it being pretty cold up here, I think it's going to be better for my arm to just kind of work on the kind of the stabilization stuff and bands, and I've got these weighted balls that I do some work with as well. Before, I think that's going to benefit me a lot more than throwing the baseball right now, and a little shoulder tweak puts you out a couple weeks. So that's kind of what I've been up to, and my thought process with my work and what I've been doing. And then goals for next year. I mean, I really haven't thought about anything. It's truly just been get better in kind of all the aspects and all the ways that I can think of now, and put the best product and best version of myself out there when spring training comes.
That's cool. And I think it's pretty interesting just kind of knowing the situation of the Diamondbacks organization right now too, because Diamondbacks aren't going to win a World Series next year, probably not. But you guys have a pretty solid farm system. I think I want to say top 10 last time I checked. So like you guys have something growing, with the young core, and you're going to be a big part of it. So, what are your thoughts kind of just within that organization? Is that some extra motivation that maybe the whole organization isn't the best right now?
Yeah, so our major league team did have a very tough year last year. And it was kind of pretty much the opposite of what we expected. We added some core pieces that we thought were going to help us really compete next year and definitely make a playoff run. And so I think that kind of having the season that we had at the major league level last year was, a little bit of a shock. And, I think that it took some of our upper level, management back, and just took them a second to reset and, just understand it. But I think that the cool thing about the Diamondbacks is, in our management, is that we've got such great intellectual people up there that they're going to be so much better from kind of going through that. I have, a lot of faith in how the team moves forward. And in terms of the prospects and in the minor leagues, like you said, we have a special minor leagues. And I think that, in 10 years, you could look back and be like, wow, kind of all those guys were together. That's crazy. And I think that the best thing about that is just how much, at least personally, it makes me want to compete. I think our top, one, two, three, I think our top three prospects are, three of our top four prospects are outfielders, right? And so I think the other one plays outfield as well. Someone he's a catcher outfielder, kind of interesting combo, but he's fast. But just having those guys every day be there and is really motivating, and just kind of really pushes me to keep working, because I know that they are.
Nice. Okay. We're also down to 2 minutes, so we're just going to do one final last question. What are you most looking forward to when you make it to the big leagues? Is it playing in T-Mobile Park, your hometown? Is it getting a hit or playing against, I don't know, a future Hall of Famer? Or is it just going against someone you've were teammates with that perfect game or something like that?
Yeah, for me, it's just I've always been such a competitive person that to be able to get to that level and compete for, the highest, one of the hardest things to do in the world, and win a World Series. I think that's really the big thing for me, is that I want to have a World Series. I want to have many World Series. I think that that's the ultimate test of a person, or not a person, a baseball player, and what, because I think that stats sometimes don't tell the full story. And I think that, we've got, one of our coaches, the main coach that kind of I interacted with this summer was Johnny Gomes. He's got a couple World Series, and just being around him and his description of kind of those sacrifices and what needed to be done in order to get to that level really made me understand at 100%. Like this is it. This is why you play this game.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think we are going down to a minute, so I'm going to close it out. So great to meet you. You obviously have a great head on your shoulder. You know exactly what you're doing, one step at a time, one day at a time, and we're excited to see your progress throughout the years. We're going to keep a close eye on you. Thank you, Corbin, for coming on and sharing your time with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Corbin. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Take care, guys.
See ya.